All right, so we're going to talk discipline in Skyward, and I'll show you a couple different areas where you can enter it, like through discipline. You have some options in here, and then I'm going to start in the student profile. But before I do that, like Marnie did, I do kind of want to show you the codes to see if make a little sense. For discipline to be reported into CEDARS or into the state, there's 3 things that need to be checked. So we have our offenses. An offense that when you add an offense, this base behavior state type, there has to be one of these. If there's no behavior state type and you've reported it, and it's not reporting you've met the other 2 criteria, it will not report to CEDARS. So it's just some information that you have. And remember, I'm in a TLA, so these codes may look a little different than what you would see in your live data. The action. An action has to have a suspension type to be reported of in-school, long-term, short-term expulsion, emergency expulsion to be reported. That's option number 2. And then the third option is in the offense itself to be checked, the checkbox be marked to for state reporting. So we'll show you that when we go into student. And I'm guessing, I don't know if you guys are doing discipline now. Is this where you normally go, is in student and student profile?
We haven't done discipline before. No.
Oh, okay. Okay, so tell me to slow down if you need to and ask questions. I will try to remember to keep it slow and ask for your questions. So in student, this is where I like to go, is discipline and offenses. When I'm coming to here, I have a browse view of this one is all offenses. And then I have all, or I could just go to current year, which he has 1. Over here, we have quick print, which would bring up different reports that we have options to. We have the add, the edit, delete. If there are any discipline notes, they would show here. All notes, you would have a number if there were any notes attached to the student. Our totals, so this is total discipline by entity. Total suspension expulsion information. And defaults. So if you set your defaults, there's not a lot of options that I recommend in here, but I always recommend that you have it set as a new incident. Any of these can be changed once you add an offense. We have offense or referral, but I would recommend offense. And then your school. You need to have the default school. So if you're working in one school, have that default right there. And then if you use discipline officers and like to have one on here, you can add that. And that's about it really in here. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to go, this little boy already has an offense. We'll pick a different person. So we come in here when we're ready. And I think what happens with you guys is you get handed the pieces of paper, correct, that have what happened. Tammy, is that right?
She just stepped out.
Oh, whoops. I think you guys, the way it works there is like you would get handed the papers and they would say you need to enter this. Okay. So it might not even be the same day when you get to it. So you might want to be mindful. So because of my little defaults there, it comes in with this as an offense, new incident, and my school is selected. So the first thing you would do is want to add your offense based on what you have, what your codes are. You guys will know these better than in here. So if we say just a failure to cooperate, that's number 1. There's a behavior state type. So that's the first criteria to have this reported. Location, whoops. Location, the more information you put in here, the more reporting you can run. You can run some reports and graphs based on location. That might help a time of day, location that maybe your district needs to have more people available to help out. So offense date is today, and we'll go ahead and do today's time, which is I'll say 1:10. Well, better not say, I'll say 1:05. p.m. And then I had marked in my, I don't know if I showed you, but in my defaults, I had the parent notified. And then this is going to come and reported, always checked. Even if I uncheck it, the next time I come in, it's going to be checked. But even if this is checked and we don't follow through with the next process, it will not report. So we have the new incident, the incident number, the school year. If your districts require a discipline officer, you would add that there. If you use the referred by, you have options. If you do staff and click on here, this brings up anybody that's in your staff table. If it's referred and you want to track it by student, the same thing. You can click on here or start typing and the students' names. And the last option that you have is other. And then you can freeform. So if the neighbor called to report kids were causing problems out there and you wanted to track that, you would put that in there. You can put your comments in here. And if your district has the internal comments activated, these comments cannot be seen in family access. And it's all security driven, who can see this. Over here, we can add victims. And you can make an attachment. So if you have a written statement by someone, you could attach that here. Was there any question on this very first screen?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. So now we would go and we're going to save and add our action. Based on your codes, now this one's a little different. We're just going to give this student a short term. Select that. So a short-term suspension is less than 10 days. 10 and above is considered a long-term. We're going to say this is a short-term. We're going to say it's just through next Monday, which I don't know if I say he's going to be, oops, no, that's not right. Let me get, if I put in the number of days, today is, he's going to miss part of today, which would be, we're going to say is a 0.4, and then Monday, so he's going to miss the 1.4 of school days. So the total time is actual seat time that the student's going to miss. So since part of this day is over, we're going to say he's going to miss a 0.4 of today. He's going to miss all of tomorrow. And so that is a 1.4, but the number of days that he's affected by this is 2. Does that make sense? Okay. Again, you can put in comments here. If your district does this where it creates action details, if I come down here, it automatically puts those in for me. The only thing that this does with this that I don't like is it puts the 0.4 on the second day. So if you want these in here correctly, you do need to edit and update those. The action follow-up needs to be filled in. And I know so that you only have 3 options, but we'll say he participated and that, and there's no, just say there's going to be a re-engagement plan on the 4th. It's due not school days? No, on the 16th, so when he comes back. I'm sorry, you guys, I thought today was Friday for a minute. Dang. So that's all that you really, on this type of a short-term suspension, that is all that you need to enter. Do you have any questions on this screen?
Nope.
Okay, so save. And then if your create attendance records is set up in your school, you would say yes. On this one, you have to choose what type of suspension. And now we've done our record. So now if I expand it, we can see the details, the action. And now you see this has a star, so there's more information under there for this short term. Okay, so any questions on this simple little piece?
Nope.
I think the hard thing, the thing that I try to ingrain is remembering how to break out your days. It's always, broken out by how much time they really missed on that first day.
Okay.
And the other thing I do want to tell you is I think it started last year, if you put in a suspension that's a long term and the student gets that long-term reduced. So it was a long-term for 2 weeks. I don't know, that's too much. But anyway, they meet with the parents. They decide it's going to be a short-term. They don't want you to change that long-term suspension. They only want you to change the days affected, so that they would know that, let me get you another active kid, that in the beginning it was long-term, that was updated and changed to a short. So really what we would do is, oops, critical alert. Save and add an action. So I'll just say this happened on. Oh, I don't know how many days that is, dang it. Say, sorry, 10.40, I forget right off the bat. I don't know if I got the dates right, so let's look down here. 11/23. So the return date would be the 24th. So I'm going to save and close this one. Oh, sorry, get errors. I'm not going to put the date in because I'm going to save. Oh, did I do that on the back first one? Eleven, 12. Not gonna let me do what I want. Apologize for that. I had this set up for you. So now if we went back in there and they decided they met, we could come into this action and edit the action. And this isn't the best thing, but we could just change the number of days and say, oops, now it's going to be a 5.4. And 6 days. And that the reason they want this is they want to know that it started out as a long term, was changed to a short term by the days. And it updates down here for us, so we have the right days in here. We can say the re-engagement was on 19/20, and then they'll be returning. Sorry, I hope that made sense. I kind of.
Yes. So you just change the date and you don't have to like make a whole new one for the short term.
Correct. Just update the days that are affected.
Okay. So do the dates and the attendance, are they taken away for the one?
Yes. Yes. If you have it set up, they should be updated.
Okay.
All righty. So let's see. Let's take you over and show you some of the options. One of the options over here is we have entry by officer, entry by student, which is just exactly the same as what we were doing. Just you have your students in the browse and you can pick a student through here. And then the other option that you might be using is the entry by incident. And you would add in this one. So this is for if you have more than one student involved. It's a quick way to do it over here. So if we went to add new incident, and you have your location, there's a hall. And then what time did it happen? It happened this morning. You have someone to report again. And then down here is where you first would add your students that were involved. And click on that and quickly add your students. So now you have your students. And now I can highlight my students and say add and remove an offense. So we can add the offense here is just say failure to cooperate. You can have more than one offense. So you could say this one, he failed to cooperate, but he was also had disruptive behavior. And then, so all at once you can add the students that are involved. If there's an incident with more than one student, they all should be reported under the same incident number. You don't want to put these individually into student records unless you use the same incident number for each. Then you have the option to save and add action. So for this behavior of uncooperative and this behavior and this, if you wanted, add an action. You can only add an action to the same offense. So for those three, they're going to get some in-school time today for the rest of the day. The T for today. Their total time then is going to be 0.4. Oh, well, it's a little bit more since it was before lunch. So we'll say it was a 0.6 that they're going to lose. Even though it's not a whole day, it still affects a day in there. So we'll say the parent was notified. Any notes you want to put down here. And then again, they participated. And then it comes down here and it fills that in for us again for those three kids. So now if this student that had this disruptive, if he was going to have another offense or disciplinary action, then you can add that to this student, which I don't think I should have added the other one now that I say that. And that's not really, there's not a suspension type. So this one's not going to get reported. So I just going to say, just something that you want to keep note of. It's not really getting another out of school or in school for that. But now you'll see that they're all listed here. It's a quick way to see all that information for the one incident number. So any questions on that? You guys are so easy. All righty. So the one other thing I wanted to show you. So let's go back. Let's just do it here by student since it's the same. Pick an active student and expand her record. And down here she has, oh, she's got something. Let's find, is that today's date? Yeah. Oh, I guess I just did her in my little thingy. So if we add an offense in here, let's say this person, they weren't sure what was going on. They thought it, unsafe behavior. And it was outside in the parking lot. Happened today. Happened at 12. And they're just not sure. They're going to emergency expel this kid. Just because they're not sure of the whole situation and they need to do a little investigation. So they're going to save and add the action. Emergency expulsion. Emergency expulsion, I have it defaulted in my system here to come in as 10 days because the school has 10 days to change this. So we're just going to go ahead and report it as 10 days. Let it fill in all the information that needs to be until it's determined what happens. So if I save that. I'm just going to go ahead and let it fill in the information. So when a student is emergency expelled, you have 10 days to either, that's the final action as the emergency expulsion, or if it's changed to a smaller out of school, in school, or whatever for that student. So if we go to this student, so he was expelled on 11/10. So we're going to say today they decided that they're going to change this to, or they're going to, change it now to he's just going to have 5 more days of in or out of school suspension. So we're going to go in first, and I'm going to edit this. So it's been 1.4 days that he's been emergency expelled. We're going to make this a 1.4. Total time is 2 for this. And if you wanted to say original, oh goodness. Bless you. Okay. Oh, and I still spelled it. Oh. We have that one. Now we're going to add a second action, which is going to be a short term. And that starts today for 3 more days. Total is 3. So I don't have to break this one down at all because the total time was broken down with the original. And I think honestly, it's going to be on tomorrow. And then we'll need to fill in these if there were services offered. Whoops. So now you capture the full picture for this student. You can see here that it was an emergency expulsion for 1.4 days, and then the next was for 3 more. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Do you have any questions on that? Am I going too fast?
No, it's okay.
And you guys, if you want to stop and go play around a little bit, you can do that too. Just let me know. Let's see.
Kind of going with it, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's about what I really wanted to show in adding these. Over here again, the action detail update is if your school wants, if you see whenever you put in some action, it comes in here as an open action. So this does not report, it doesn't make, but some people do like to use this area. But if you wanted to clean it up and say, oh, they've all served, you can individually or say these ones have served. You can also mark all open as detail as served. So it's just a way to keep track of what's open, maybe verify everything's been done with these students. And then you also have that history button. If I save. So we have one less here because I updated that one. If you needed to reissue, you can just reissue. So. Transaction tracking. You can go by student. And it is, I think it's like all, we only want active for today. And you have your student details. your offense tracking. So we have current year only. You can unselect this if there's more for, if you want all years, if there are, they would show. So you can see that it was added and no changes were made. And then here's your changes in here. Add, and then we changed it. We changed status to served. Do you guys want to see reports? Do you think you'll be asked to offer reports or run reports?
She probably, one of them will probably, yes.
So we have a discipline detail. I'll show you that one. And then you always have your options in your templates up here. Let me go back here. Excuse me. I think this is my new one. So this is range. I think in ranges I did just do current year. Oops, sorry, status. Okay. And then we'll just print. So I can go back in years, but we're just going to do this year. We'll do all, we'll leave everything wide open there. And we'll leave everything wide open here. So now you'll know you can run it one time and say, ooh, I don't want all this information. Then you'll know what to define it by and what to remove. Because sometimes with these reports, how I like to start is have too much. And then I think, okay, this is how I want to refine this report and what I don't need to see and what I do need to see. So then we have all the information on these the students. So here's our summary. And do it by range or individual again. We want to come in and just do current year status of active. So we have to give it a name. If you want a print advisor, we're not going to. We're going to keep it the way it is here. But on this one, I think we'll just go for offenses only. We'll select all offenses. We'll leave the dates wide open. And we'll leave the action wide open. But we are just reporting for this current year. So it looks a lot like the last one. Hard to read some of these, but you can see your time served is over at your time, and the time served is over here. So you have the user-defined discipline detail report, which you can add in more demographic information. You have these fields to choose from. So you can get in more of the family information into these You can print your notes, students with no offenses. Again, down here, we have more options of offense fields to report on. Like action fields to report on. So this one just gives you more fields to choose and customize in each of these areas. You can uncheck all those if you wanted to. You can put them in different order. You have the areas to sort in each of those. Oh, except for that one. families. Oh, let's let that one run for a minute. We'll come back. You have number of occurrences report, which I did a summary, which has this year, left the dates wide open, offenses only. You can save and print that. And I'll run one more with detail, and then we'll go look at those 3 reports. So here's our user-defined one that I kind of left wide open. And you can see it has a lot of information in it. Oops, and there's our other one. This was my detail, so it has my students. And it gives you a little bit more information and how many occurrences have happened with each of these. This one gives us a lot of information and it's not very clean. And this is the summary. This one just gives us totals. So failure to cooperate, we had 3 occurrences affecting 3 students. So that's just going to give you totals if you wanted to have it. And that was the summary. The other thing, sometimes the graphs can be nice if you do. So I think there are 3 graphs. So there's not a lot to choose from in here. So if I go into here, you can graph by action, offense, and a rate. So we're going to leave these. It's a graph. And then you have some options down here. You can do for the previous 4 weeks, or you can put in specific dates. And you have it by breakdown by action type. And then use your code or use the short description. Oops, I think I'll print it. So this one is our offenses. We're going to break it down by discipline offenses for the past 4 weeks. So you can use your type code, or if you wanted to do location. So this is one where you can kind of find out if things are happening in a certain area. Now I'm going to do this. So now what you can do with those reports is I can come in here to this multiple discipline graphs, and we can add, and we can pick which ones we want to see. So we want to see that one and that. Let me put this one at the bottom because I don't remember what I put in that. And if I say save and print, I've already run them. Now here they are individually. That's my other one, sorry. So here's our breakdown. If I click on these ones, let's see if a couple of them will bring your names in so you can find the students affected. Come on. So when I clicked on it, now I have the students. So that's kind of a nice little feature. And the view. Now this is the one I put all 3 of them in one screen. So we have the breakdown by location. This one is breakdown by action type. and breakdown by offense type. So you could do a breakdown by location and a breakdown by time and see if there's locations at times that are kind of a bad time, you know, right after lunch and lots need to have more people over in this location. Kind of a nice little feature. So is there anything else? I mean, those are the main ones that we look at. That was a condensed version of basic discipline entry. So if there's anything else you guys want to see, or we can be done way early.
I think we're good.
Are you sure? No questions?
Not yet.
She's
Not
quick.
over. I'm just kidding.
Well, good. You have great resource with Tammy. So if you do have any questions, she can help you out.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, thank you guys.